since I'm waiting for a clutch cable housing, I've got things to do on this car, but it's kind of hard to figure out what to do, so I'm just gonna scrape the glue off where the strikes were, and maybe I can fiberglass them. These plastic razor blades are muy bueno. Now that I've got the trim tape removed, it's time to make the actual trim. And maybe I could sell these pieces one day. I've had these molds that I made for a very long time. I've got the 2 little pieces and the 2 big pieces. I've lined all of them with PVA, polyvinyl alcohol, and then I'm just gonna do maybe 1 or 2 layers of matte. And that'll be good. Fiberglassing is really pretty simple. I think it's just labor intensive. The resin I just mix up and throw a little hardener in there, and then the heat of the sun should usually take care of the rest of it. It's not that big. You just gotta cut up some fiberglass and get in there. I use some chip brushes from Harbor Freight to push down the fiberglass, and I get my scissors involved, my Fisker scissors, which are made in Switzerland, so they're very tight and they never slip. So it's important to have when you're time constrained and you don't want any problems. Anyway, I use those scissors to cut down the fiberglass, or if I'm trying to get into a tight spot, actually cutting the fiberglass with a straight line with the cut makes it more rigid and it's hard to get into corners. So I'll rip apart the fiberglass with little hairs and get those into corners. So I rip those hairs on the ends and then wait for it to cure. I always wait a day. That came out really easily and it's really clean. That's awesome. I could probably pull a bunch of those. The trim came out pretty good. I can see myself doing 1 or 2 layers of fiberglass, and the mold was messed up for me. But that's really easy to sand and make right. Awesome. This is the first piece of trim, mostly done. There are some things I gotta fill, right? And took my little block of wood with sandpaper on it, and I got this fit really nice. Oh, come on. That'll go well with all the clips, and it looks pretty good. That's awesome. Normally the side strikes are held on with push clips and double-sided tape. I am not interested in just double-sided taping the strikes on, so I 3D printed some clip holders and I'm gluing those in. And then this is how I'm locating where the clips will go. Just quick, easy, mark it, then stick them on. I've got this piece sort of how I want it. I'll go like that. Well, it should be parallel with the mating surface, and then a little bit below. And it's lined up with the line, and I'll fiberglass that in. Then this one, ooh, choose your weapon, I suppose. Oh, they should go the same direction. I think I want that, yeah, definitely a little bit lower, so I'm gonna sand that. Got my 3D printed plastic inlaid into the fiberglass, and I cut this out, and I want to do a test fit. That'll be great. And they're pretty stuck in there. I thought I'd have to pour goo like onto the edges, but no, it's pretty good in there. It's awesome. Now it's time to make the bumper. I had this mold laying around from a long time ago too, with those side strike molds. Made them at the same time. I was actually going to pull a bumper today, but I forgot that I have all these irregularities in the mold, so I'm going to fill them in with Bondo. They're up here, over here. That's a problem. Up there. You know, I'm gonna say a controversial statement, but it's weird how you would pay someone to help you, you know, with labor and help you fix your stuff, and they just don't care at all. I got the entire mold covered in polyvinyl alcohol, and I cut out the bottom because I couldn't reach my hand in there. And I know it's not even, but it's not that big a deal because it's on the bottom of the car, and when it's low, then it won't really matter. The other thing is there's still a bunch of pit holes in it everywhere, and in my experience, as long as you just soak those in the PVA, then it's fine. And then I suppose the other thing that I'll be doing in the future is I saw, like, there's some guy did a cyberpunk Miata. I'm sure lots of people have seen it. And he did a gel coat mold, which before I saw him do that kind of connected with me, but watching his molds come out with no pinholes, the gel coat's really great. The only reason I didn't use gel coat before was because it cracks a lot, but I kind of understand now that when you make a part, if you want it super lightweight, you you might use one layer of fiberglass, you know. But other than that, you know, gel coat's really good for being stiff and filling in holes. So anyway, I'm gonna set up the time lapse and get to putting cloth down. Yay! Only one layer. Same story with the resin. I just eyeball it, and I don't mix a lot, because if you mix a lot, then the heat really starts to build up in it, and I can't work that fast. I was pouring it on a plate to soak the fiberglass. Eventually, I just started soaking the fiberglass cloth in the mixing bucket. That worked a lot better. The point of mixing and then soaking is if you have to pour the resin over the cloth, then sometimes it doesn't really soak in. It's just a better way for me to soak the cloth, I suppose, with resin. I see a lot of people use like maybe the air bubble rollers, and I've tried those before, and I really didn't like them. And then also when the resin cures, they get obviously stuck. The resin's always curing on me, so I like to use the Bondo squeegee spreader things, and I squeegee out the bubbles, and I can squeegee out extra resin too, and it also makes the cloth pretty flat. Sometimes if you're not putting any tool onto the mat or cloth when you're going, you get these little hairs that stick up, and they're sharp and painful, and when you try to lay more fiberglass over those hairs that are sticking up, then you can't, because it's not a flat surface, so you have to cut those down and grind them or sand them, just all the wrong things. So you do a lot of preventative maintenance. I thought I'd cut myself enough cloth, but I did not, and all my stuff was gummed up too from the cured resin. I had to clean up my scissors with the razor blade, then clean up my squeegees because I didn't want to use more, and just cut myself more cloth. I kind of estimate what shapes I might need, and then just use them as I need them. Some people will do a layout before they do the actual fiberglassing. I've done layouts before, and it's hard to be accurate. You always need a little bit extra, and as you really start adhering to curves, you can't really predict that because your layout kind of skips over those important curves, so you don't really get the lengths right. I mean, with experience, you could probably start really estimating that, but it's not really something I really want to get good at. It's just a waste of time. So then what I do here is like I said, I cut out some shapes, and then I try to put those shapes on a simple curve, not a complex curve. A complex curve would have like multiple directions of curvature, where a simple curve is just bending away from you or bending towards you. So that's a lot easier for the fiberglass to stick to. I think I spent maybe 6 hours fiberglassing, and I did it in 2 days. The first day was the right side, and then the second day was the left side. Lots and lots of work. You can see the brushes that I like to use in the shot here. They're pretty good. I've got a friend, he'll trim down the bristles so they're a little tighter and they don't deflect as much. I don't really see the benefit in that. They're already really stiff and poorly made brushes. They do just fine. I was using the brush to, sometimes if you want to get into the cracks, you'll pre-lay some resin and then your fiberglass into that resin. Your soaked fiberglass, that is. And then after you're done, you use that brush to also tap down the little hairs. And I was going through brushes like crazy. It's good to, get a 50-pack. That's why you go get the cheapest, crappiest brushes that you can buy, because they'll soak up with resin, turn solid, then you just got to use another one. Getting into the crack was sort of tough because of the tight curve, so I just let it soak with resin, and then I put the fiberglass over the soaked resin. It's a lot thicker in this area for sure. Well, so I got this side of the mold in. I didn't feel like time-lapsing it because, well, how long can you watch a guy put fiberglass into a mold, So, came out, I think, pretty good. We'll see when I pull it off how many air bubbles there are and how much I'll be filling, but, whatever. Cool. Well, so that's a bumper. I seem to have missed some fiberglass in these spots. Getting it out, I was really ripping it, and I ripped off the corners. I'll fix it. I'll do that in the next episode, but oh my gosh, this thing is so light. It might not even be a pound. I'm gonna go weigh myself. These corners are probably heavier than that bumper. That's awesome. I just weighed it. It weighs 4 pounds 4 ounces with the heavy corners. That's awesome. The next video, I'll fix it, and I'll get the side strikes mounted too, because finding those clips to mount them onto the body has been pretty hard. Cool. Awesome.